it's important that attorneys general representing our respective states stand up and enforce the rule of law. The President of these United States is not above the law.
No matter how rich, powerful, or politically connected you are, everyone must play by the same rules.
I'm going to use the law both as a sword and as a shield and challenge Donald Trump. And each and every time he issues an illegal executive order, I am going to stand up to him because he represents to me sincere ignorance and conscientious stupidity.
Please sue him for us.
Oh, we're going to definitely sue him. We're going to be a real pain in the...
And now the Trump Justice Department may be a pain in her you-know-what. The Angle has obtained shocking allegations leveled by the Trump administration against New York Attorney General Letitia James. The Federal Housing Finance Agency has sent a criminal referral to the DOJ accusing James of mortgage fraud. In a letter to Attorney General Pam Bondi, Director Bill Pulte says James appears to have falsified records in order to meet certain lending requirements and receive favorable loan terms.
Well, the chickens have finally come home to roost for Letitia James. But it looks like the chickens are roosting in Virginia, but filing tax forms in New York. Letitia James is being accused of 3 things.
Now, here is what she's accused of doing. 1, listing a home in Virginia as her primary residence in 2023 while serving as New York's top prosecutor. 2, James reportedly also listed her father as her husband on mortgage applications. And 3, the Federal Housing Finance Agency says she bought a 5-family home in Brooklyn, but misrepresented the same property as only having 4 units in building permit applications and numerous documents. Now, this, of course, is a role reversal of sorts for James. In 2022, she won a $454 million civil fraud judgment against President Trump and the Trump Organization, stating he falsified business records and misrepresented his net worth. That case currently on appeal. James frequently sat in the courtroom throughout those proceedings. No love lost between the two, as you can see in some of these pictures. President Trump reacting to the new accusations against her, writing on Truth Social. Letitia James, a totally corrupt politician, should resign from her position as New York State Attorney General immediately. Everyone is trying to make New York great again, and it can never be done with this wacky crook in office.
Well, she was the prosecutor who won a $454 million civil fraud case against President Trump. Well, now the Trump administration is turning the tables on her for the very same thing. Well, James's office issued this statement saying, quote, "The Attorney General James is focused every single day on protecting New Yorkers, especially as this administration weaponizes the federal government against the rule of law and the Constitution. She will not be intimidated by bullies, no matter who they are."
Letitia James says she's not going to be intimidated by bullies, no matter who they are. Who knew that marriage license clerks were bullies? It looks like she needs to stop getting marriage advice from Ilhan Omar.
Well, by law, James' primary residence has to be in New York State, not the Commonwealth of Virginia, for her to even serve as the Attorney General. She must have lived in the state for the last 5 years before the election. So we'll have to see if she lived in Virginia or New York, or if this even qualifies her to stay in office.
Both Letitia James and Alvin Bragg were using novel legal theories to put together unprecedented cases against the then former president of the United States of America, the first of its kind in our history. You would think if you're going to do something like that, you would actually have some solid evidence. With this type of lawfare, they judge shop and they jury shop and they go to these super duper duper Democrat areas where it doesn't matter if you are guilty or not. They are going to find you guilty. What these guys are doing is lawfare. It's unethical. It's criminal. And justice is on the horizon. But what else is on the horizon, apparently, is Letitia James potentially jet-setting around for personal campaign reasons on the taxpayer dime.
And there's another issue that wasn't covered in the Justice Department's referral letter. I found that in the year 2021 to 2022, she made 6 or 7 trips with a private jet carrier called Venture Jets. Now, New York State has this big checkbook thing that you can go back to 2014, look up any vendor, any transaction with New York State reimbursed money. It's from the Officer of the Controller's Office. Now, what happens is She was the only one in the history of New York City as far back that used Venture jets. And a few of the trips overlapped. With campaign events that she was at. Now, after New York State stopped paying for her Venture jets, her campaign started paying for Venture jets. So that's another thing that I'm sure the FBI will be investigating.
So she was using public funds to campaign, which is illegal.
Possibly, yes.
Okay.
Listen, the other stuff, the mortgage stuff is a slam dunk. The documents exist. The other stuff is, we will see. I have filed for a FOIL request, but there's too many coincidences that makes it, let's put it this way, it smells like fire.
While Letitia James has been busy saying no one is above the law, it looks as if she has been using a private jet to get over the law. But I'll tell you what, that's not going to fly in court under Trump.
Fox News contributor and law professor Jonathan Turley also weighing in. Watch.
Obviously, the irony is perfectly crushing. This is a person who prosecuted Trump for everything short of ripping a label off a mattress. And among the charges that were brought in New York, in not just the civil but the criminal case, was making false or misleading statements to financial institutions. And one of these sections, Section 1014 of the federal code, is prosecuted. It took me about 60 seconds of a search to find cases that the Department of Justice brought against people who falsely claimed that property was their principal residence in order to get loans. So this is well-tread areas for the Justice Department. As for James, if we apply the Letitia James standard that she created, there'd be little question here. This seems pretty straightforward. What the administration is saying is this was not her principal residence. In fact, as a New York elected official, she had to say that her principal residence was in New York. This was an out-of-state residence. But also, they claim that in some of these forms, she actually states that her father is her husband in order to file as a married couple. So there's a lot of those questions. And as you know, the Supreme Court just stated earlier in March in a case called Thompson that they want to see knowing false statements under sections like 1014, not just misleading statements. These are misleading statements. Either it's your principal residence or it's not.
Or it's not.
Either you're married to your father or he's your father. So they can this can satisfy the Thompson standard.
Everyone wants the best interest rate you can get. I understand that. But she's a lawyer. She knows that when you sign a mortgage application, that mortgage application, if you're borrowing money, if you're not borrowing money, nobody cares whether it's your principal residence, except, where you file your taxes. But she decided to state that that was her principal residence, knowing it was not her principal residence. I didn't even know she had property. I mean, I guess she had property in Virginia and she has rental or investment property in New York. That's fine. But in the New York matter, to get the favorable rate, the building could only have 4 units, but it looks like the entirety of this building, it had 5 units, meaning it was in violation of the actual loan agreement. And again, this is not a novel application of the law, Jonathan. As you stated during the persecution of Donald Trump, she was using all these novel applications of law to go after him. This isn't novel. This is a black and white issue. You either did or you didn't.
Right, and this has been prosecuted in the past. Now, we have not heard her side of this, but these documents themselves are quite damning. It's hard to see how the residences listed were her principal residence. The business about her father is just bizarre. Now, I'll note that one of the things that Letitia James stressed in her case against Trump is that Trump had to review documents that were filed in his name. And so she dismissed the argument that this was something that Trump's people put together. She said he's ultimately responsible. So they allege that she gave a power of attorney in a couple of these instances, but according to her own standard, that's not enough.
Well, Professor, the referral cites the case against the former Baltimore City prosecutor Marilyn Mosby, because she was sentenced to a year in home confinement for lying about her finances to make early withdrawals from retirement funds during COVID, and then fraudulently claimed that her own $5,000 was a gift from her then husband as she closed on a Florida condo. So the idea that again, this is just no one ever goes after politicians for these types of, which may seem like small amounts, and they add up.
They do, and this is really for James, the very case that she most famously brought. She insisted that these technicalities matter and that the powerful should not be given a free pass. Well, that bill has come due in this case. She's going to have to deal with this filing. I'm honestly just not sure how you defend against this unless you say that these are fraudulent documents.
Jonathan, I have to raise this because the Democrats, when this really starts to blow up, which it should after the show, they're going to say, look, see, this is a revenge presidency. They're weaponizing the DOJ against Democrats, so it's a tit for tat. Do you see that as a potential vulnerability here?
Well, we are certainly living in that age, but the fact is James herself rejected that argument made when she brought, in my view, a ludicrous case in New York. That case was something that ultimately resulted in a grotesque ruling. By the way, the timing here is not good. We're waiting for the appellate decision to come down. It's been a very long time. Each day we're looking for the appellate court to issue the review. Many of us expect that it will not go well for James, but having this pop up in the news just couldn't be great for her team. I'm sure they are really in a very tight fetal position right now.
Hold on, it's not time for this yet. It's not time for this yet. Leroy, sit. Leroy, sit. Thank you. No, it's not time. No, it's not time. Leroy, it's not time. No, Leroy, you have to. Leroy, be a good boy. Leroy, sit. Thank you. Hold on. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Red Dawn Daily with your host, me, Dawn Marie, and sometimes Leroy.